Hi,
Hello.
hi Marcia, how are you?
I am good.
Marcia, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes.
Marcia, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, Marcia, how are you? This is Melinda Roy.
Good, I'm good. Thank you.
So, Marcia, before you start the beautiful presentation, we will play a video of your introduction. Okay, just go through it, and later you can start your presentation. Thank you.
I just have a quick question. Do I need to click the present to audience?
Yes, yes.
I do. Okay.
Okay, after the video, I can help you.
Is an inspiring speaker,
Okay.
motivator, best-selling author, educator, entrepreneur. Marsha Patterson Gilman, she/her, is an inspiring speaker, motivator, best-selling author, educator, entrepreneur, and licensed psychotherapist of 30 years. She navigated the healthcare system, overturning a sudden and serious onset of small fiber peripheral neuropathy, fast progressive rheumatoid arthritis, non-stop internal tremors, rare neuromuscular genetic disorder, and life-threatening non-cancerous brain tumor. She credits the doctors for stopping the tumor from growing but had to spend the next 2 years finding natural solutions through alternative medicine and a non-toxic lifestyle to reverse the other disorders. Marcia has been able to crack the code on how to overcome obstacles of physical and mental stress through education and self-care. She has created a roadmap for others so that no one needs to navigate this road on their own. She can help you find the peace and balance needed when you are lost and overwhelmed, no matter what life brings. She does this through inspiring messages of hope and community, letting you know that you are safe and no longer alone.
Yeah, Marcia, you can start your presentation. Just click on the upside arrow button and share to audience. Thank you.
Okay. And then how do I okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, I'm just wondering for my if you'll be able to see this. Are you able to see that? Okay. My presentation.
No,
There is a backup one in case it doesn't show. I don't that I emailed.
click on up arrow. Click on up arrow beside
Up arrow.
audio.
Okay. Okay.
Can you see the audio button beside camera?
Yes.
Okay, so beside audio button, can you see the up arrow button?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
can go ahead.
yeah. Just click on that, please.
Okay.
So you have got the share screen option, right?
Yes.
Okay, share the
Oh,
screen.
yes.
So if you are not able to present to audience, so yeah, I think you have shared your presentation to us.
Yes. Could you play that?
Yeah, we will play from our
I,
side.
I yeah,
Yeah.
I won't be starting with it, but I'll let you know. Okay?
Yeah. Meanwhile, just try it. Okay. And
Okay.
I will
Yeah.
search for your presentation. Thank you.
That'll be great. Thank you. it's good. Yes, are you ready for me? Hello, Paris. I am so excited to be with you. I am honored to be here virtually. I wish that I could be with you in Paris. I'm hoping to be there with you all next year. So I actually have the scenic background in the back because it's kind of a tough, heavy topic. We're going to be talking a little bit about the pandemic. The whole thing is about balance. And so I want to be able to help all of you with balance around the pandemic. And I'm actually going to be using me as kind of a case example during this time. So who am I? My name is Marcia Domike. I'm a psychotherapist for the past 30 years, helping patients with anxiety and depression. And more specifically, I work with the doctors and nurses in the hospital clinic setting, being able to help them with suicidal thoughts, either in terms of not having to go into the hospital or else coming out of the hospitalization. And I'm coming to you today to speak not only as a provider, but also as a patient, because we're all more than one thing, right? We're either a caretaker or we're a mom or we're in our professional life. And so we have had to balance all of those things during a time in which none of us signed up for, none of us had planned for, and none of us had a roadmap for. And I'm here today to help offer a roadmap. I had to kind of take this journey on my own and figure out a roadmap. So I have a roadmap for you, not only as a patient, as a provider, but also for administration for our essential providers. So as I was preparing for this speech, I wanted to share my story with you, and I found that I was tripping all over my words. And so as a psychotherapist, we know what that means. It means unresolved trauma. So instead of doing that, because nobody wants that, I'm actually going to read from you a little tiny snippet of a book that I released last year called Life by Design. It's a compilation book with 26 other authors, all who have had some type of adversity and overcome. So there is a happy ending to all of this. So in the book, it reads, "The neurosurgeon was kind, soft-spoken, but direct. Marcia, we had hoped to see no growth. We examined the MRI and your brain tumor is growing rapidly. It's not cancerous, but it is life-threatening if it touches your brainstem. We can no longer just observe it, and you must choose either radiation or surgery. Both have side effects that are not good. With radiation, we can freeze the tumor so it will not continue to grow, but it is likely that you will go deaf in your left ear as a result. That could be immediate, but it also might not happen for 10 years. There's also a risk of radiation causing permanent facial paralysis on the left side of your face. With surgery, we could remove the tumor, saving your hearing. There is a risk, however, that you might be deaf immediately in that ear. The risk for facial paralysis is greater with the surgery. If you choose radiation, it's a one-time outpatient procedure, and you can return to work within a few days. Surgery would be a 4 to 6 week recovery. We would need to cut into the scalp, and it is more invasive. It also involves possibly relearning how to walk. It carries with it all the other risks of brain surgery, but if successful, it will save your hearing. The tumor has grown, but it's still small enough that you can choose. Which of these two options would you like us to set up for you?" I looked at all 5 providers in the room and physically felt sick. I searched the room for a familiar face, and there were none. I was all alone, and I was terrified. No longer was I feeling proud of going it alone. All I could think of was getting out of the room and starting my trip home, which involved a 4-hour drive on the ice. The doctors waited, and I couldn't speak. I could feel the pressure of their next client waiting, even though they said nothing. I looked up with a tear in my eye and said, I have 2 ears. People may not notice if I lose hearing in my left ear, but I don't think that I could go through the rest of my life with the left side of my face paralyzed. I will do the radiation. The doctors left and I finished the arrangements with the nurse. I then gathered my things and I left the clinic quickly. So, as you see on the PowerPoint, that is me the day of the surgery. It does have a good ending. They did do gamma knife surgery and it was successful. I am happy to say I met with the brain surgeon a couple weeks ago, and I was cleared for 2 years that I don't have to do brain MRI. So that all went really, really, really well. However, it's just the start of what actually was happening in my body. So if you can take a minute right now, there is a poll that I created, and it has to do with the pandemic, because all of the time that I was seeing the going through all of the tests, which was 1.5 years with the Mayo Clinic, it was during the pandemic. And so in the poll, it says, have you been given the care needed to heal physically and mentally from the impact of the pandemic? So if you're interested in filling out that poll, that would be great to be able to see. So as you see, that is the book that was released, Life by Design. I am an author, a psychotherapist, essential worker, an entrepreneur. I'm a mother and a patient. However, I am not a victim of circumstances. And really, that is the story for many of us. Many of us have our story of what happened during the pandemic. So how can I help you professionally? We can use my own experience as a parent, as a patient, as a case study to see through the eyes of a patient what some of your patients might be experiencing. Assess where your practice fits into this new world of ours. And how can I help you personally? I have a framework of moving forward. For we are not only providers, we are people and patients ourselves also. So the poll that you're filling out, if they had given the option to put another question, I'd be asking also the question, has your personal or professional life changed in a way that you're able to heal from the pandemic? What I've noticed, and I've noticed with patients, is that we had this big explosion of a pandemic, and then we're just expected to go on as if nothing happened. And so many of us are stuck with, how do we do that? How do we do that as a patient? How do we do that as a professional? How do we do that as a mom? And I'm hoping to give you a roadmap to be able to do those things. So COVID changed everything, right? The picture on the left represents when I very first found out about COVID. I was in the Twin Cities, which is Minneapolis, Minnesota. They have 4-lane, 6-lane highways all over the place. I actually was there to see the doctors, and my daughter was in college. She had just found out that she had been given notice that she had to move out immediately. The doctors were trying to figure out what's safe. Do we mask? Do we not mask? How much distance is there? And the highway represents my ride home. There literally was no cars on the highway that never, ever, ever is clear. It was very eerie. The right picture symbolizes what I saw in coworkers. The coworkers were exhausted. We saw a lot of coworkers coming through that had never had anxiety or depression to receive mental health treatment. So COVID requires us to think differently. So I really want you to think about, how has your life changed since COVID, and particularly in the workplace. So on the left, you'll find the lovely list of all the different things that were happening in my body at the same time as the brain tumor. So the brain tumor had a great outcome. Neurologically, not so great. So I went through a 1.5 years of testing and multiple blood tests, and they did come up with all of these different diagnoses, but medication was the only thing I was offered. And so I do have psoriasis on the list twice on purpose, because psoriasis, I'd never had psoriasis before, but during stress, it likes to have an outbreak. And so I noticed it was on there twice, and I thought, well, that makes sense, because psoriasis was showing up all over the place. So I want to play a little game with you here, especially if you're here as a provider and maybe even as a neurologist. So if you had a patient coming to you with all of those different diagnoses, what do you feel would be the root cause? And that's what I kept asking the Mayo Clinic providers, is how in the world can somebody that is perfectly healthy one day, overnight, have this whole list of things? There had to be something that was wrong. And none of them were very concerned about finding out the answer. They were very concerned about giving me a correct diagnosis, but not concerned about really what had happened. And so I really had to do a lot of digging on my own, especially in relation to the 24/7 vibrations. It was almost as if I was put on a washing machine. It was vibrating all the time. So here is the part of the new framework. So I want you to think of this both as a patient and as a provider. The multidisciplinary approach is a must. So I was dealing with 5 different departments within Mayo, none of which were talking to one another. Support for both the patient and the doctor. As I said before, the doctors are really, really feeling the impact of COVID and are really needing the support as well. And then you as a patient definitely have the power to be able to heal, do a lot of the healing on your own as well, and taking responsibility for that healing. So I did all that the doctors had said. I went to all of the appointments, and they basically said, yeah, you don't need to come anymore. And I basically said, I'm waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, terrified because I'm still vibrating. That is not good. And so I did take everything into my own hands and started looking for alternative ways of healing. And so I asked, what was the root cause? And as you see on the left-hand side, all of those things can be factors. In the middle was all of the different emotions that I was feeling. And on the right-hand side was all of the things I was experiencing, because life was still going on, right? I was still having to work as an essential worker. There were no days of isolation for me. I was needed at the office. I was still a mom, and my daughter, all of a sudden decides she was moving to another state. She's like an adult daughter. And so, we have all of the other regular stressors. And then, of course, I, as well as others, also got COVID. And by the way, COVID is not the answer to the question of what went wrong. So that is the part of the chapter that I read you, The Power of Perseverance. And that's basically what it took, is just not giving up. I was very, very persistent in finding out what exactly was wrong. So I just kept going. And do you notice in yourself that you've had to do the same? Like, life didn't put us on hold in order to live through COVID. I really feel for the parents that had to do homeschooling and try to figure out a job and all of that. So all of us had to just keep going. And meanwhile, of course, all the blood work, all the things I was still going through. And that's that's 5 vials. That's actually my very last blood draw. I don't have to do them anymore. But most of the time it was around 9, 12 different vials at a time. So it really became changing I can't into I can. And here are a list of some of the natural remedies and things that I found. I was really hitting it from all sides. I was doing acupuncture, I was doing physical therapy, occupational therapy, chiropractic. There's actually, if you're a neurologist, you might be very interested in this. There's a neurological wearable patch. That one helps with focus. There's all kinds of different ones that help with different things. So I was really, really looking at a lot of the things that could help, including nutrition. And I overcame them all without medications. So very excited about that. So part of the framework is let's catch up with these other countries. A lot of you already are doing this well. In America, we're really dealing with sick care as opposed to well care and prevention care, and that really needs to change. We also need to be looking at a whole body approach, so all the different alternatives as well, and give space for all of those things. So if you're a provider, here's the framework that I'd like you to think about. So if you look at the picture on the left and picture yourself in that lighthouse, I want you to be able to see and navigate, where is the patient? Are they sunning somewhere on a beach? Are they literally drowning in terms of mental health in the lake? And you're really going to want to assess what are the right things to put in place for support for that patient. So I came up with this little terminology, which is called pat doc. So doctors, pat yourself on the back. So the first part, the P, has to do with the philosophy. So that's the multidisciplinary, being able to assess where the patient is at, and then being able to use the continuum of treatment for care. The doc has to do with deep breathing, meditation, observing where you're at as a professional, and then linking to the community. So this new framework for dealing with a post-COVID world, all of those things are the layers of stress that we have really gone through. And we need a way to be able to address all of that and give ourselves balance. So for administration, these are things that are really important. On the left-hand side is being able to recognize burnout in your providers and really asking 2 important questions. One is, how are you really? And the second one is, what do you need? And then just do your best to try to make those things happen. And then just having realistic expectations for that employee. I have a patient right now that basically says we're allowed to say what we need, but the answer is always, no, that's not going to happen. And, desperate people do desperate things. I'm working with suicidal patients. It's just really important that we have a new framework. So let's start the healing. So address the patient, assess yourself, assess supports, and provide community. So I want you to take another moment, look again at that poll if you haven't filled that out, and also if there's any questions that you want to ask, go ahead and put those in the chat. So this part I'm super excited to announce to the world. I am starting an international self-care movement. What it means is carving out 30 minutes with me to be able to just kind of stop the world, be able to have fun together and be able to laugh. You know, I have talked to a lot of people after post-COVID. Before it was, hey, help us with anxiety, help us with depression. Now it's just like, I just want to laugh. I just want to like feel like a regular human being again. So you are invited. So quickly going back to the question of what happened? What happened to me? How did I literally get sick overnight? And we will reveal the answer. So for me, I found out it was chronic stress plus lack of sleep. It actually was an undiagnosed sleep apnea and mold exposure. And the doctors didn't ask me about any of those things. So here's just a list. You can read through it on your own of the lessons that we learned and the framework that was presented. So in closing, giving up is not an option. Just keep going, find your supports, carve out time for self-care and healing. Know that you're not alone. Take care of mental health. Don't ignore it. Reach out and help others. It'll make you feel better too. Come join the self-care movement. Take time to smile and laugh. It's contagious. Adjust your work environment to reflect the events employers are faced with. And then there's just some fun YouTube things that you can go to that have contagious laughter and different things that can help us through that. And I invite you to take your phones out for a minute. Go ahead and scan that QR code. That will bring you right to my link tree. And you can touch on the first button. That will bring you to the self-care movement. And then I'll give you email so that you will be able to not miss a thing. First thing we're going to do is we're going to have a dance party coming up. So get in there. We're going to really work on some self-care. And let us always never forget, you're not alone. Your body can heal. Just reach out. It's okay not to be okay. Give back. We've got you. And isn't it time to rediscover you? Come and join the self-care movement. Thank you. And I'll see if there's any questions that you guys have for me. Yeah, laughter is the best medicine. I love that. Thank you. So true. Yep, distrust. Yes, let me see if I don't know if it'll tell me the poll. Hey, we got one person answering the poll. And it was a yes. Yes. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. Go ahead, if there's any other questions, you can put them in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marcia.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Marcia, for the wonderful presentation. So
I
here
guess my
is
dog's saying hello too. Sorry.
Okay, so here is the question from our audience. So, how does music in the brain impact mental and intellectual activity?
Wow, you know, music is so interesting because it not only brings up memories, and so if you can think of times in your life where music impacted you positively, that can be really helpful. Also, you actually can do a soundtrack for when you're feeling a lot of the negative emotions. And so for a lot of people, it helps being able to connect with maybe rock and roll music or Metallica or something like that, and be able to, in the soundtrack, start with something heavy like that and go to lighter and lighter, and your mood will be able to shift with music. Music's beautiful. That is just a beautiful thing. Great question.
Thank you so much, Marcia, for the for answering our question and also sharing your wonderful presentation with us. Um, if you are interested to join our live event, which is going in Paris, France, you can click on the Zoom link, so you can share your thoughts and have a good conversations with them. And yeah, thank you. So let's. So this is Melinda Roy, and have a great day. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.
So hello everybody. This is Melinda.